Hey YouTube, if you're here, you may have just decided to host a giant party at your house and now you're wondering, what in the world have I gotten myself into? If that's you, I'm from the future and I'm here to help. I have notes. I've been doing this since like 1991 in various degrees of large parties for our family here at our house. Everything from Easter to Christmas to birthdays, wedding receptions, class parties. We had a senior prom here once. Like, I'm going to pretend like we're starting from scratch. I tried to remember all the way back, like, when did we decide that it was okay to put 60 people in our living room, and how in the world do you make the menu to do that? So today's episode, we're going to dive into how do you plan a menu for a giant party at your house. The first light bulb moment I had when I first decided to try this, normally our parties they're either small or giant, and we had a party for about 42 people, and my first response was, no, where are we going to sit everyone? And once I got to thinking about it, it's like, wait, what if we don't have to sit everyone? How would we do that? And so we came up with, let's have food that doesn't require you to sit. Once that light bulb, that aha moment, that was the biggest moment for me, where it's like, oh, we can just do finger food. So we flipped the whole idea around and we're like, everyone can come, because once you take the chairs out of the equation, you can just have food on a plate. You could use a fork, I guess, but our parties now don't require a fork. So we boiled everything down to hors d'oeuvres and finger food, and I'm going to show you how I managed to do that. And obviously, this is not planning for a party, for a big sit-down party at your house. That's a whole different video, and we've done that, but there's limitations due to seating, obviously. Instead, think of a terrific cocktail party, with or without the cocktails, where a ton of people gather in your house, standing up. You know, it's a mixed group of sitting and standing, and there's a ton of great food to just nibble on throughout the whole evening. You don't run out of food, and everyone has a great time, and it's just super fun. But the point is that during the whole party, people are going to be sitting, standing, using the chairs that are available, but most people are standing throughout most of the evening, and it works out. But at no point is everyone sitting down all at once. There just isn't. We just took that off the table. The first thing you're going to need is a fairly accurate head count if you're planning a menu, because that's your first, order of business. And then instead of like agonizing and flipping through magazines to be like, how do you plan to host? How do you guess how many main course dishes would this many people eat? Basically, I narrowed it down to one choice on my menu list, almost one choice per guest, which sounds crazy, but it works. And here's why. One choice of food. And my counting method, one choice, if you have black olives and green olives, that's two choices. So you can see where you get a lot of choices. Every different pickle is a different choice. So just our pickle table is probably 15 different choices. So when I say we had 55 choices on the table for 61 guests, that includes two kinds of olives, two choices. But you're only putting out, what's wonderful about it is when you do it this way, dump out one jar of olives, one black, one green. That's two choices. When they're gone, they're gone. The point is, when you have 60 people and you have 55 choices of food, you just make one batch of each thing. Sometimes I'll make a batch and a half or a double recipe if I know something's going to be really popular. But what I have found, and I've kept notes throughout the years, and I have been keeping notes in this little notebook in my kitchen. This says Christmas notes, and I started this in 1999, and you can see throughout this whole book, every year I've kept track. It was mostly cookies to start with, how many I made, and then I started adding Easter notes, then I started adding Christmas notes and the things I gave as gifts. These are my Christmas notebooks. Keep accurate notes. If this is your first time, start a notebook, write Christmas party on it, and start keeping notes. The second thing, after you have the head count, and again, this is for a large party. If you're doing 10 people, I wouldn't put out 10 things. Although for 16 people, we put out, a lot of things. So it depends. But the next thing to consider is sort of a cohesive theme, I guess you would call it, for the whole entire menu. Is this going to be a holiday party? Is it winter? Is it a summer party? Is it outside? Is it inside? Kind of get a theme or a general idea of what kind of food you want to serve. And the next thing is to think about your group. Since it's your party and you're inviting these people, I'm assuming that you know them more or less well. It's our family, so I know what people are going to like in our family. Get an idea of what is going to be a crowd pleaser. This is not the time to try out a whole menu of exotic, unusual things that you found on the internet, unless you have a really adventurous group and they're all fine with eating things they don't recognize, you know? In general, I try to put out things that are going to be crowd pleasers no matter what. And if you keep notes like I do, you will find out things that were not popular, like things that you think are beautiful that would be a great addition might not work. Like I think the idea of red and green and white Provencal peppers with goat cheese in little phyllo cups is a beautiful Christmas idea. Not so much. They don't, I took them off the list this year. They just don't go. No one eats them. I mean, some people do. The other thing that I try to include some kind of balance between all meats, vegetables, breads, fruit, dessert, all of those things. Try and balance it out. We usually end up with about 30% being dessert. And I will link some of these ideas and some of the foods that we've used over the years. We've been doing this, the Christmas party that we host here. Gosh, we probably started doing it in the early 2000s. I wouldn't say I don't agonize over, but I don't agonize over too many dietary restrictions to where it makes it hard for you to provide the food. I do, however, try to be thoughtful of people who are on various diets. If you have people that you know in your group are going to be leaning towards the vegetarian dishes, or people that are on keto, or people that are avoiding bread, or what for gluten-free, whatever the thing is. Try to include some thoughtful things for those people so that when they come, they don't walk through your buffet like, wow, there's nothing here I can eat. And also make labels for everything so that when people walk through, if they have 55 choices, they're not going to recognize everything. So make sure you label everything clearly, and especially if it's keto friendly or gluten-free or sugar-free, make sure those are clearly labeled so that those people can find that stuff and at least enjoy your party and not feel like they were, they left hungry. Once you have some ideas of some foods that might be fun to include, now we need to dive into a master list. And I basically just start a list in a notebook, and I literally have last year's menu. And it looks like this. And it's messy, and it's got probably egg on it, but I kept track of everything that I made, checked it off once I made it, and try and start the list, because if you're cooking all of this yourself, or even if you could buy all this stuff. I make it all. If I can make it, I make it. But try and start the list with what you're going to be making first, so that you can just check off as you go down the list. You can also make code. Like I'll code my whole list with an F for like freeze ahead, W for like week prior, if you're making sauces and dips and things that can stay in the fridge, but they can be made well in advance. If you're making like stuffed mushrooms, you could make those a couple of days ahead and have them in the tray ready to go in the oven on the day. Day before, I'll put DB. Make a code that works for you so that you can kind of sort out your list as you go, check everything off as you make it. The other thing I try to sort out is group things by hot dishes, cold dishes, and desserts. So I mentioned 30% of our whole number is usually devoted to things that are dessert. And that's like cookies, candy, things that can be easily portable. I don't do pie and cake for that reason, but if you could find a way to do petit fours or little like mini pies, like tiny little pies made in mini muffin cups, that would be something fun to do. I don't. But you could get little, you can probably buy puff pastry shells already made and just fill them with pie filling. It'd be really cute. So if we have 30% desserts, the rest of it is going to be divided into main dishes that are hot or cold. And of this year's list, 52 things on the list this year so far, and that includes like pineapple and grapes, 2 different choices. So 52 total different choices. Of those choices, 10 of them are going to be hot dishes. Like we do smoked chicken quesadillas with a chipotle adobo sauce. We do little sausage bites with honey mustard. I make mini beef Wellingtons, which are complicated but delicious. We'll do stuffed mushrooms. My brother's going to come for a week, and he's making his famous jalapeno poppers. And I think my son-in-law is going to make his burnt ends, which is brisket and barbecue sauce. And it's just, so good. So those are the hot dishes. And then 26 of the 52, so almost half exactly, are going to be cold dishes, which is like deviled eggs, charcuterie board. I make my homemade cheese. I'm going to make salami. I'm not making summer sausage, but so all of the things that are cold that can just go out, vegetables and dip, things like that, that'll go out. And pickle, we have a whole pickle table. Once you have that list written down and it kind of lines up with your head count, and don't be afraid, you don't need to agonize over getting this wrong. The better thing is to err on the side of too much food, because you can always put it, especially if it's in December, like we're doing a Christmas party, if there's food left, oh no, we have food in December. Whatever will we do with it? I mean, we just have it through the month, and then we have leftovers to snack on through the rest of the time between the party and Christmas. So it's fine. You put them in the freezer or put them out for leftovers for your own family. But I specifically have a huge grudge against parties that don't have enough food. So err on the side of more than you think, and make notes. The other thing that I always do, you saw the menu list, the next day after the party, put everything away, everyone goes home. The next day, make a list of what was left. And this is going to be so important if you want to do a party again, because this will tell me if I made 60 stuffed mushrooms or 50 stuffed mushrooms for 60 people and we had 10 left. That means that was a good number. But next year I could go with 50, go with 10 less if you want. So I keep all my notes, and then next year that gets translated into this year's menu so that I know, hey, let's leave that less. What I have found that's interesting in a party this big, we had 61 people here last year. What seems to be the magic number for that many people with 52, last year we had 55 different choices. About 24 of everything is about what we went through. So if you have 60 people and you put out 55 dishes and there's about 20 to 24 of each thing, you're probably going to be fine. Make 30% of them desserts, the rest hot and cold dishes. We do dips too. Oh my goodness, like chili dip and crab dip and artichoke dip. So lots of fun things, but also things that if they don't get used up, again, especially now it's the holidays. Oh no, we have extra food. I just like that I make one batch of something, put it in the freezer. So I'm not busy making 500 of one kind of cookie. I just make a batch, put it in the freezer, make another batch of something else, put it in the freezer. It makes it fun for me to do the party. It makes it fun for me to do the food. It makes it where people love all the choices, and you're not limited to there's only 3 desserts and I don't like any of those. There's 16 different choices of dessert. You're going to find something you like. The next thing, after you have all of that kind of written down and notes made, look at, I just mentally look at what I'm going to be making and get a hard list started of grocery list. And this is where it gets, experience has taught me that I start shopping in August for the Christmas party because budget. If you want to make all the food or buy all the food for a large group, groceries, as we know, are not cheap. So I start way early. And anything I know that I'm going to probably need, you're going to need butter, flour, sugar. I know I'm going to go through a lot of cream cheese. I have a lot of recipes that use cream cheese. I don't know why, but anyway, cream cheese. Anything you can get early at the grocery store and just put it in the freezer and have it ready, then you're not going to have such a painful blow at the end right before the party, because you're still going to go the last week. You're going to be out buying the fresh things, and a couple days before you're going to be out buying fruit. Any of that kind of stuff that's right at the last minute is still going to cost you. I rent plates and glasses, so we have that expense at the last minute. So I try to do as much of it ahead of time as I could possibly buy, and then it's way less painful because you just ease it in your, you're at the grocery store already, just throw in I'll do $20 to $50 worth of just party food and make a note, keep my receipts. I make a note of how much it cost me. So I kind of know what to expect, but start a grocery list and start doing your shopping as early as humanly possible. And the last thing to think about is do all the food you can way ahead. Cook it. Everything I can cook ahead and put in the freezer is frozen and done at least 10 days before the party. And then because that last week, you're going to be doing all the fresh things like making sauces and making deviled eggs and cutting up all your cold things like vegetables and meat and cheese. Leave those that 4 days before the party is going to be busy. And if you want to see the timeline for how to make all of this work, I do have a timeline video. I will post a link up here if you want to see that. I hope this helps you feel confident in doing this yourself. You can. It's really fun. Yes, it's a lot, but it's fun to do. If you love to cook, it's just fun to do. I love feeding people, so I enjoy doing it, but I definitely would not want to try doing this at the last minute or even the later minute. I've pulled this party together as late as about probably 23 weeks prior. We suddenly decided one year, okay, let's just do it. And I did, but it was a push to get it done. So let us know in the comments if you host big parties at your house. What's your secret? What are your tips you can share with the rest of us? And we can all maybe learn something new at the same time. Thanks for watching. We'll see you along the way or in the next video.